Hey everyone, this is Tracy with Color Me This. It is time to do the flip through of my completed Small Victories coloring book. It is episode 417. I have a bunch of side notes over here. I pretty much make a copy on copy paper of every single page, and I have the collection of them. I will be flipping through them to cover any details about the pages. Some of the pages use multiple sets, and I do try to rank the different sets, and my criteria for each of those pages for ranking them changes. It could be for one page I want to do the experience of it. The one of the pages that was a bunch of feathers, I made a little grid, and I'll share the grid with you, that gave me some more, I guess, analytical criteria, not just by feel, what they felt like to me. And then on other pages, I just went by look. And then I will do a quick scan of a page and see if by look of that page, I still go right to the same set of pencils. It's kind of fun to review that. So I've picked a vertical alignment, a setting that keeps as much of the book for a single page on the screen for you as possible. So let's just get right to it. The reason why I did this project was I had already started my coloring channel, and Hub had been challenging me to use my pencils. I had been sharing my coloring journey with doing my animal portraits and copied coloring pages. I also shared pencil reviews, but I really hadn't got myself into a rhythm of coloring. I also was very intimidated by coloring and did not find it relaxing, and my goal was to color so much that it became second nature, and I could just sit down with any of my sets of pencils and just color and not stress out about them. So when I first started, I owned 27 sets of pencils. I believe 5 of those sets were the professional sets, and I had those off to the side, and I did arbitrarily choose when I was going to use them. The rest of the sets that I owned initially, I went through alphabetically. I think 3 different times I rotated through them alphabetically, and I will point out when I have used a pencil set for the first time, because I just added it throughout the year. I think I added maybe 4 sets of pencils. And then I also introduced 2 wet medium pencils toward the end of this book, and I will point those out as well. So I'm just gonna hop right in. So our first page, I would oftentimes, if there was a mirror image like this, I would color one side with you. I was very slow, by the way. I color for about 45 minutes. I color while my husband and now my kitten are napping. As I'm in my big craft room. We have giant windows, and I notice it's very bright right now. So you will see me changing my lighting as the outside there I see clouds. So we're going to have some changes to the brightness as I go on. It's fairly early in the day. So episode number 55. If going through here you are interested in watching the videos, I do have in the bottom left the episode numbers. The pencil set is generally either written all over the page if it's multiple sets, or in the middle it'll say the set, and on the right it will have the date that I did it. Some of the pages I labeled early on, where this was labeled early on and I actually didn't have the episode number, but I put the set name and the date on the left. So somewhere on the bottom you should find episode number and date, which will be the best way to go seek out the particular episode if you want to join me in coloring using that pencil set. Maybe you like the page. I have always told everybody to use whatever pencils you have. My whole experience is to learn to use pencils in general, not be attached to any one pencil set. So I use the Amazon Basics, which was, again, the first part of the book will be alphabetical rotation. And then I did use a little bit that you can't hardly see. I used a tiny bit of Tan Mint glitter pen on the stars, according to my notes here. I used Sulfur Yellow G16. Also, if you haven't watched my colorings, I do put the numbers that I use in the description, and I state and show the pencils that when I first am using them, and then I will call out when I change to a different pencil. I'm pretty good at that. I use no speeding up and no music. I will also have a version of this that is without sound for people who just want to go through it and not hear me chatter on about the sets. The second page was probably my slowest page to process. It covered 7 episodes. I worked on it little image at a time. The background took forever, and I did not fill in the tooth. The background was just, it was going to be so time consuming, I opted not to fill in the tooth. I tend to be a fill in the tooth colorist, so it was also a good challenge for me very early on to just let the tooth of the paper show through, and that it is okay for it not to be that slick, shiny, full cover look. I really enjoyed it. I added some glaze and glitter, I think it is called Moonlight Jelly Roll. This is the Artex pencils. They were fantastic. This is where I started the idea of pitting pencils against each other. So I broke this mandala into quadrants. You probably can't see it, but I have these little very light pencil lines. And I worked on bits and pieces of this with you guys, and then would go away and do homework to finish the rest of it off. I struggled with the background being that indigo blue color, and I ended up using a blender pencil because I was bothered. In this case, the tooth really bothered me, so I still see some tooth. I didn't want to add another coat of indigo for all 4 pencil sets. It would have taken forever. So in this special page, the details are in the middle. It was episodes 62 and 63. I have the dates that I colored. It looks to me like I spanned 2 days. And the sets of pencils are written, as well as the blender pencil. I used all 4 of my blender pencil brands, and they are noted in the middle there. Arteza 72 is the first set that I used. I will generally start with this. Oops, sorry about that. I will start a page with the set of pencils that has the least amount, so that's my color palette that I will choose from that set of 72. And I'll give you a quick peek. Here is what part of my planning page looked like as I was trying to match up the colors. And then over here was where I was matching up the flower colors. I do, again, try to pick winners when I'm doing multiple sets, whether it's 3 sets of pencils or 20 sets of pencils. I like to pick my favorites. And in this case, I picked the Brutfuner squares, got the plus. I use little pluses and minuses. If I'm not going by specific criteria that I have written down and put in a little grid, it's just pluses. And that is how I chose the winner for this page. I also have a side sheet. I've already completed it. I'll share it at the very end. And for the larger sets, when I pit them against each other, I have logged, because there's a couple of sets of pencils that I know repeatedly win, and they might surprise you. I also have a full alphabetical list of the pencils that I own, and I will toss that into the end so that you know today what my sets that I own are. When I started this, I had 27 sets. When I ended, I had 36 sets. 2 sets are not complete, or they're not the largest you can get, and that's the Arteza and the Holbein. I own a smaller subset of them. Page 3, I just was going alphabetically, so we hit the Brutfuner macarons at this point. And they did a great job. They're a pencil I've owned a very long time, and I fully expected them to do well. I did 1/2, and it was 1 episode. I noticed that I didn't write the episode number off to the left like I promised you, because these are the early on pages. I did have to go back through. It took quite a bit of time to go back through and label everything, because I was not consistent, and I sure wish I would have been more consistent. But you know, you don't know what you don't know till you're done. There is my a second large project. This was a duplicate, you know, with a repeat mirror image. So I only colored half of it with you, and the other half I did myself. And it was using Castle Arts Gold. It took 2 episodes, and I did use white gel pen, as well as I see some shimmery Moonlight jelly roll. And the Castle Arts Golds did really well. As a rule, I find them a little bit crumbly. And depending on how I color, they crumble more or less depending on the pressure that you put on them. This was my second time using the Evazar. I had done a purple Pegasus that I've shared on a video, an old video with you guys, where I did a monochromatic purple, and they are soft and creamy. I believe they are softer than Prismacolor. So I picked a limited palette. I also say Castle Art pastels, so I might have popped in the pastel tints here and there as a very soft color, though on my notes I don't really state which pastels I use. Oh, I pointed out as little notes because I do keep little notes. Here's where I talk about the jelly roll, that I used white acrylic, and down here I talk about the numbering system of the Evazar is 1 through 130, and boy do I really love a number 1 through 130, or number 1 through whatever number, already in color family order. Perhaps one day I will renumber them myself. I can't remember, Jazzy Doodle Designs maybe, and I could be wrong, I'm sorry if I'm wrong. She puts numbers on them, and I really like the number 1 through whatever. All my pencils are in cases at this point, except for the Marie's, and the Marie's are in trays that I have a coffee shop download that has the numbers for the trays, so I don't have to do 1 through whatever, and I just really love pencils numbered that way. I thought the color palette came out very nice, and I did some sparkly. Like I told you, I did the Moonlight and white, but very little. I don't see a lot of white on this page. And I did this in 2 episodes. Here is my first page of... Nope, this is not yet. Okay, so this is one set of pencils. Now in hindsight, see, this was way back at the beginning. I wish I had used a different set of pencils for each of the trucks, because I could have done an analysis of how the different sets felt. But let's just look at what I did. I do like that I did them, the trucks are colored somewhat stylized for each of the art for each of the trucks. And I did also use a glimmery, non-glossy accents, but that's what you probably will know it as. It's a hard glue that dries and puts a nice shine. And I did it also here with these little jars. And I could have done more, but I was just kind of experimenting. This was a Stampin' Up! Product from one of the holiday catalogs that I had just hanging around. I love the VW Love Bus. Love the chocolate truck. I did this in 4 episodes. And this is one here you go. I did some light coloring, but I did not write any notes. There are very few of these pages that have no notes. I really love this butterfly. I think it came out fantastic, and it's the Marie's, which is a Chinese pencil set you can get on like AliExpress, Shine, and Temu, and I bought them from Temu. This is where I have a coffee shop set of downloads for the numbering of them if you want them to stay in the color family order that they arrive in. And I also kept them. It's the only set of pencils that are existing in their packaging, and the packaging still to this day works really well for me. I used white gel pen, and I did a lot of work on the color selection, and I made color combos. I love building color combos up, and here they all are for you to see kind of how my brain works. I am working on a membership area that takes all of these episodes. This was done in 2 episodes, so I worked pretty quick here for how slow I normally am. And I am going to be creating stream videos that include the picture of all of my note page. And I've been adding little notes as I recollect if I was pretty vague. Like the truck page is really vague, so I'll probably go back and add some of my notes. I don't even think I put that I used a glossy accent type product. So I will be doing that, and we will get that going. Hopefully, this is April now, but I would like to have it ready by Q2 with the current year. And then I have, hundreds of episodes that I need to get the streams all built up so that all of the episodes are together in one big video with all of my supporting details for you guys. All right, I decided to interject a professional pencil set here. It is 2 episodes. It's Luminance. It ironically is the only label. Oh, this page, both sides, I used cursive for whatever. I very, very rarely write in cursive for detailed notes on something. So this is a set of pencils that is very soft. They were kind of messy, somewhat like a Prismacolor, though not as bad. And they are vaguely a little bit sticky, but light fast, which is kind of their counterpart competitor by Derwent. This is by Caran d'Ache, and they are light fast, 100% light fast pencils. So the pinks and the peaches are somewhat limited because those are the colors that have trouble. Even the purples have trouble. So of course, that's what I focused on, was using the range of pinks, the darker pinks on the mushroom, and I used white gel pen and gold. My note says gold Sparkle Pop, and they were just a little bit challenging to use, but it's a pencil I am familiar with, and so that's why I picked them first. The Luminance and the Polychromos are the professional pencils I have the most experience with. They are, I even wrote here at the time, full set of them, $370, $3.84 if you want to buy them as singles, which is one of their selling points, is that you can buy them in singles. And here is all of my little side notes where I was picking my color combos out. My goal, by the way, is to try to get this done in an hour. We will see how it goes. Next set, I had my very first 15 Holbeins. I actually purchased them to do a couple of color blends, and I did the purple and the blue. So I made sure that with my 15 that I owned, that I could do the houses, and they came. So I started with Holbein, and then of course I immediately want to pit them against my Prang coloring group pencils, which is a 50 set. And then at the bottom, I used Spirerfarben. And the tricky thing about Spirerfarben, they are on this page. I give Spirerfarben the win. I would totally have expected Holbein to win. I would also have expected the Prangs to look completely underwhelming, and I think they held their own very nicely. But the Spirerfarben, they can be streaky if you're not consistent with your pressure. So I don't consider them a beginner pencil, probably more of an intermediate pencil. But if you do streak because your pressure is off, you can lightly erase and reapply. So that's how I worked through any streaky inconsistency, because this is very early in the book, so I've probably only used the Spirerfarben to swatch. So I think this was my first time using them, and that's why I wrote a note. A bit streaky, I erased and reapplied more carefully. And I give the win to Spirerfarben. Next, I'm on Starjoy Gold. This is probably at this point the last set of round 1, which is alphabetical, and I have my different techniques. I was actually toying with making the all of these sprigs white line, and I decided that was too much work, but you can see here on my little mock-up where I actually did add white and then went, no, that's not going to work. So I also opted not to do a night sky. I did light blue. Let's see. And I think the Starjoy Gold, I really enjoyed the color and the vividness I got. The ability to go from lime green to the navy blue, they did great with, and I really enjoyed them. I took 2 episodes to complete. I did one for each circle. We are in April at this point in time. We're now on to our dinosaurs, and I do not have the dinosaur sheet. I don't think I had it when I was going through, so it might be one of the few that I didn't make a copy of. So this might have been me coloring cold turkey without any prep. This is a brand new set in this book. I didn't own the set, and it is called the Artisto. I got them because of a review by Coloring Bliss of the top under $30 Amazon pencils. They might have bought like almost all of them that were available, and this was in the top. I allowed myself to pick one of the top 5, and I think this was like number 4. In a case or two, I already owned the ones that were above, like I think Kalur, or it was either made in the factory or was the name of the set. And then price was my second concern. So these I thought were a really good price. There was some sort of coupon, and that's why I picked them. They did a great job. I can see that I used white gel pen. The white gel pen sometimes the white gel pen, if it's a really waxy, slick surface, sometimes you cannot get the gel pen to adhere. And these are a very waxy, soft pencil. And I did a nice soft sky background in light blue. This was such a beautiful image that I, of course, had to go grab my polychromos. And they did as good a job as I could expect. I screwed the page up because I didn't like the heavy... The fish were very... I'm looking at this image here. This is all that I did for a mock-up, this little area. And then these fish kind of looked cartoony. So I wanted to downplay them, and I used some new white Winsor & Newton ink. I put too much ink on. So when you look at these fish up close, they are more rough than they look on screen, and they actually take a picture pretty well. But it was still a good learning experience playing with the ink and learning the amount of ink that is the proper amount. And I did color them very faintly with white, yellow, and gray pencil. 2 episodes to finish this one off. And then I did add one of the iridescent stickles. I think I own 5 different colors, and I'm not sure if this one is a green tone tint or not, but I think that the polychromos on this image did just spectacular. And so we will compare this image to maybe some other polychromos colorings down in the book further that were not quite as successful, if you can believe that. Keep inching this book down. Okay, we now have 3 different sets. We're back in alphabetical order. So we've got Amazon, Artex, and Arteza. What I had done was toss the Artistos in. They are not the first in the list alphabetically. It would have been Amazon, but these were brand new and I couldn't resist using them. Oh, and I did 1 episode per dinosaur. 3 fish, 3 episodes, 3 different techniques of bling. I did use stickle on all the bubbles. I used white acrylic marker on the top flowers. I used glaze in the middle, and on the bottom I used glitter pen and some glaze over the top of the glitter. I believe I used a clear glaze. So that was fun. And I also used silver on the bottom fish, the fins, the scales, and the tail. And I did not rate the pencils, and I think visually, because it's so much time has gone by, they look to me very similar. I cannot tell the difference, and they are 3 different sets of pencils. So, nope. And I actually did 2 mock-ups. Here's where initially, and I didn't like it, so I didn't implement it. I actually made a copy. I will often do this for the embellishing. I'll make a copy of the colored page, so that's a tip for you. And then you can, oops. All right, so there is my wood. I hope that the filming is still going. I saw that it stopped. And Between the 3 sets of pencils, I do not have notes of which one I liked the best, and I like all 3. I know that they all 3 are very similar. Of course, this is pitting Color against Color, so I would expect them to be very similar. Evazar is a very soft pencil, and it was early on in my use of them. I think this was my 3rd time I'd ever used them. And I think I liked them all. I did a little bit of gel pen on the middle boat, but not anything on the top or bottom. And 1 boat per episode, it looks like. All right, now we have Pablo's and Color 180 Black Barrels. The color, this is the darkest color you can get with the Color. Here's the darkest blue you can get with the Pablo's. It's almost a purple, and the Pablo's were great. I did use some silver. You can see the silver flashing on the top and the bottom, though this particular image didn't have any nice areas that needed silver. Actually, yeah, and then the top one has a little bit of silver. I give the win to Pablo's if I'm doing a comparison. And moving on, I did more Pablo's. So I did, because of how much I enjoyed the Pablo's, and that is a professional pencil that I pulled from my professional list. The far right bugs are Pablo, the middle are Marie's, and the Prang again pitted against 2 very nice pencil sets. And the Prangs, I think, look great for what they are. They're maybe slightly less pigmented, but not by much. And then I did add a clear glaze on any of the beetle-y type bugs, and the iridescent wings have Wink of Stella on them. I even added some clear glaze over this bug's body. I could have done glaze over all of the bodies if I wanted to, but I just did it a little bit here and there. Between the 3, I don't think there's a winner for the bugs. They look very similar to me, and I did not write any notes. My favorite bug in general, though, is I really like how that one came out, and I love the orange one. Kind of looks like an evil face. 2 circles next. Comparing Farben on the top and Starjoy Gold on the bottom. Episodes, it took 3 episodes to finish, and I think both look very equitable between the 2 of them, though I think I was able to get a little more dark shadowing, just a tiny bit darker in real life. Looking at the 2, Farben maybe has a tiny bit of an edge, but the image itself, I don't like that her image when the artist did this, which is Joanna Basford, she chose to not have lines, and it really bothered me. So these 4 flowers, I went back and did my own faint lines, and I don't like how I did it. That's my only disappointment on this page. Give the win again, just a tiny bit of an edge to the Farben, but not by much, and it could actually have been my technique was a little bit different on the Farben. I finally now have given myself a chance. Prismacolor are in my professional set of pencils. Actually, so I think I have 6 sets of professional pencils if Prismacolor was in that list. So I finally pulled them out, and I made the snail, and the bee is only using like 7 pencils, and then gold Sparkle Pop. And I think that the Prismacolors were really, really vibrant, and I enjoyed using them. They have already intimidated me on coloring pages, so I was ready to be intimidated, and at this point I had colored enough that I had a good experience using them, and it was very pleasant, and it took 2 episodes, and we're now toward the end of May of last year. Here's a mandala that is a quadrant or a half, and I used 1 set of pencils. I was not ready for a full split. I had 2 professional sets of pencils left, I believe, for this rotation, and so I chose to do Derwent Drawing and Light Fast together because the Derwent Drawing is such a small set of pencils. I really needed some colors from Light Fast to make this scene, being as detailed as it is, have enough colors. My favorite part are the blue flowers and the apples. Moving over to the next page, the Light Fast, I only used a few of the pencils, so I went ahead and did the top 2 images with Light Fast. And the bunny rabbit is using a technique a subtraction technique. You can go watch the episode and see. I do some practice with it so you guys can see how it works, where you start with white as a base, then you add color over the top, and you use a ceramic X-Acto knife called a slice. I have two sizes, a really tiny one and a little bit bigger one, and you flick away some of the color, exposing the white underneath, and it looks like fur. I like the fall colors on the Light Fast here, but they aren't as vibrant. The blue is really vibrant, but the fall colors are not quite as vibrant. So Black Widow, these are new for me. At this point, I own only, they're a small, you get sets of 24. And I believe it was the skins, light skin, dark skin, and the 4 white boxes, which is like Cobra, Scorpion, Black Widow, and I don't remember the 4th one. So it's 6 small sets of pencils to make 90. And the full set, I believe, is 192 or 196. So I did white line with ink on the fox for his body, and then left the leaves black lined, and I think it came out very striking. Between the two, I liked the Black Widow better. Moving on, I now have, I must have been in a little bit of a shopping streak. I found, when I was looking for some used set deals, I found a used set of Erogeton at the same time as I found those Black Widows. The Black Widows, by the way, I paid $20. I bought them in person, one town south of us. The Erogeton, I found a really good deal, but not as good a deal as the Black Widows. I didn't really do a lot of research on these, only enough to know that they are a very hard pencil. They're ones you can buy as singles, so that makes them appealing. And I am a light layerer, and they do really well with light layers, and I was pleasantly surprised. For my first time doing any kind of food like this, I think they did a great job, and it took me 2 episodes to do, which is pretty, so they're a pretty fast pencil to work with. I wrote pigmented, firm, and very clean. They burnish to a soft sheen are the notes that I have for that page. We're now working on a nice full-size image. I'm not sure if since I went from Erogeton to Color, I believe that is an alphabetical order. I don't know what rotation we're on. We're probably on round 3, I would think. And they were very easy, very fast, and only so pigmented, but in this case they looked pretty pigmented, but I had a hard time getting gel pen to adhere, so I used my eraser, my electric eraser, to get spots, and then I went over those lines with the gel pen, not gel pen, I think it was acrylic marker, and I still can hardly see it. So that is a problem that I had with this one. Too waxy of a surface. We're now starting over again, I believe. We have Artisto. And I did color families: yellow, orange, red, pink, purple, blue, dark blue, teal, aquamarine. And it was really fun. It was 1 episode. I was at this point getting a little bit faster. And I really like the Artistos. It's a 72 set, by the way. Here's my first let's pit everything against each other. In fact, it's the only page where every single set of pencils ended up on the page. In fact, I only owned at this point 29 sets. And I added a 30th set that I owned and was so dissatisfied with them on the Nina Bristol vellum paper that I use for coloring on that I kind of set them aside and went, I will not use these. And in the very end, I pulled them out, and look how nice they did. That is the Crayola. So they got, at this point, they were added to my rotation, and so now I'm up to 31 sets of pencils, I believe. And I had picked 6 sets of pencils on this page that I love, and then I had 3 sets that were close but not quite to the level of being a love set, and then the rest of them were okay. All right, let's see if we can remember where we're at. I talked about Crayola. Hub just came home. All right, so here are the 6 categorized as the love level of sets. Polychromos, right here. I believe Artisto. No, Artisto, the green and the orange. Yeah, that was it. Flower Box, 520. Erogetin. Nope. Purple. Erogetin. It's hard to remember where I wrote this. Marie's. Starjoy Gold. Some of it is by look, some of it is by experience. And then the goods are Luminance, Holbein, Artex. And the rest of them I liked. But now, ironically, when I look at this page, what visually jumps out at me as my favorite is the one right here, which is Brutfuner Square. Crazy, crazy. So this was a great exercise. I loved getting all of my sets out and pitting them all against each other. Next we have Bonsai Trees, Marie's, Amazon Basics, Black Widow, and Arteza. I think, by the way, going back, 144 episodes it took, and you can see me color every single one of these and talk about each set of pencils at the time every set that I owned. Even the professionals all mixed in. I think it was the first time I had mixed in the professionals as with the budget pencils. So we have 3 episodes to do the bonsai trees. I liked the fluffy leaves. I think the fluffy deciduous trees look great. I loved the blue. I did 3 blue glitter pens. One was a Sparkle Pop, which is the dark blue, and then the light and medium blue were done with Tan Mitt glitter. I do not like how I colored the pot on the red one, and I think all of the pencils did a very nice job, though I think I made a note. No notes, actually. I think the Arteza, I see that I struggled a little bit more with the coloring blend sets, because remember, this is only a 72 set, so I'm somewhat limited on the colors. My winner at the time that I wrote, based on how easy or hard they were to use, was my only criteria for the rating on this page. Marie's were the easiest. Amazon, nope. Black Widow were the second easiest. Third easiest, and the hardest were the Arteza. It was fun on the different pages where I'm pitting different sets against each other to pick different criteria to determine what the winner was of that page. This was actually an exercise where I have my light source down the middle, and I used white as the lightest part of the light source, and my white was either the Winsor & Newton ink and or gel pen. Starjoy Gold, Luminance, Brutfuner Macarons, which I thought did a nice job, and I liked the look of that. Artex, Color Black Barrel, and Pablo. I lined out the black lines on my rainbow with the Winsor & Newton ink. It was one of the first times using the Winsor & Newton ink. I think the other time I used the Fox. I'm still learning my skills. First time doing glass, and the snow globe I did not succeed, in my opinion. It looks pretty flat. And then the next, with the jars, I did a much better job of making them look 3D and glass. So I really liked this page, and I don't know if I have a favorite pencil per se. I think they all did a nice job. I was focusing on other things at the time, and I don't have any ratings on the scratch sheet, and it took me 6 episodes. This took a long time. Many episodes. I took 7 episodes to do the title page, so this is almost as long as the title page was to do. First big exercise with the Brutfuner flower box. I picked a bird online called a crested barbet because I wanted to do some unique colors, but needed an actual reference photo so that I could do something realistic bird-wise. And I thought that the flower boxes were fantastic, of course. And I did a Sparkle Pop red and gold for the circle, and then Sparkle Pop gold on the little bits of the flowers. Hearts next. Castle Art Soft Touch on the bottom, pitted against the Castle Arts gold on the top. And between those two, my winner was the Soft Touch, which was ironic. I feel that they are a flip-flop pencil. This is wax. These are oil, but these feel like oil, and those feel like wax. I used Derwent Drawing on the left and the Color 120 Black Barrel on the right. Next page, we've got a really fun, these look like prize rosettes on a ribbon. I was a horse competitor my whole life, and that's what those look like to me, which means I colored them with a metallic sheen look. The only one I did not was this big one here, and I feel like I picked polychromos, and this does not portray the polychromos to their best look. I feel it looks dusty, and had I used the metallic sheen that I did, this was the first one I colored, and then I adjusted. This goes to show you that a pencil, not with a design plan that doesn't work best for that pencil, or any pencil. I think that these all would have looked flat if I had not altered and done the white line with the gradient of the light blue to dark blue to give the scalloped 3D look. So this is really a good exercise to show how flat this flower is compared to all the rest. Even against the praying right here to their right, this looks worse than the praying. And that's the polychromos that I use. So I did a very poor job of deciding my plan of attack. Luckily, I adjusted and am very happy with the rest of the page. And my winner for me is the Lightfast. And number 2, surprise of all surprises, I really like how the Crayola came out. And they did a very nice job. That took me 4 episodes. And I did that in July of last year. So again, I don't think I specified. I did this book from start to finish. Many of you already know that, but I did not let myself skip pages. My mom has this book and she does whatever page she feels like, which is, I think, the way most people do. So next we have these really tiny, simple images. I tried a failed attempt at white line drawing. I covered the whole thing with Winsor & Newton ink very lightly. I colored with pastels, and then I had to go through with some gel pen to get some shadows, and I think it's only half successful. That was Castle Arts Pastel Tints. Castle Arts Metallic. I did 3 different ways, and the most detailed version of it is this it's in fourths, and the right side is my favorite. The bottom left is simple with no layering at all. Rogeton did nice simple fall leaves. Rogeton did a nice seascape. I had just bought the Harmonious. They had just come out, and I did 1 flower per color. And then like these, a few of these little flowers I did not have to color. That's why if you see some flowers that look white, they probably are. There are 72 muted tone pencils in the Harmonious set. That's by Castle Arts. And then I sat and chose colors with you guys for the Artex as a little challenge. I normally always pre-plan, and I hardly pre-planned. Here's my very minimal pre-planning with basically none for the bottom 2. I didn't even pre-plan this one at all. So kind of fun and different. So I don't have a winner for this one because the exercises that I worked on had nothing to do with picking the favorite pencil. It was kind of how I was doing my planning was more important at the time. My first time playing with jars using acrylic marker, and we have the Marie's upper left. I wrote notes, easy to manipulate. Stays soft, no harsh lines. Upper right is Color 120, super fast, burnishes before I finish, good starter pencil. Bottom is Arteza. Bottom left, green's not as vivid, not as easy to blend as Marie's. And the bottom right, Spearer Farben, is water moves. Watch it. Pressure, need to monitor, can streak on you. Marie's were my number 1 pencil. Number 2 was Arteza. See, and I've struggled with Arteza, but they still got number 2. Spearer Farben were number 3, and the Colors are the 4th because they just aren't as pigmented as the other 3 sets. All right, this right here are Pablo's. This is my favorite page in the whole book. until I did this page, my favorite page was the kelp page done with polychromos. And I did use some glitter gel pens down here in the coral area and stickles, and kind of purpley stickles, and then a iridescent stickles for the bubbles. And it took 3 episodes to finish, and I did that in the end of July 2024. I have now, at this point, for the start of the cupcakes, I have left Florida. I am back in Washington State at my mom's house for, I don't know, 8-9 days, and we were packing up our stuff into a pod and helping them pack, and we did moving sales, and it was just chaos and craziness. And I brought 1 set of pencils that aren't even part of my rotation, a small subset of Prismacolor. It's the 36 set. I bought those a long time ago. So the top is done with the 36 set, and then the next 3 sets use my mom's, and then I didn't finish coloring. I only did the first 2 cupcakes with the Staedtler 48. So when I got home, I had ordered a set of 1986 barrel Prismacolors to give my 2 sets from 2 pencils, 2 individual pencils, the only colored pencils I had ever bought back when I was 18, and I wanted to give them a presence in my colored pencil life, so I bought some used eBay pencils for them to work with. Ironically, the set that I bought used came with the same 2 colors that I already own, though they're shorter versions. So on this page, I used my mom's Color 120, I used her Brutfuner 180, and the Staedtler 48 that I'd given her 3 years ago. And I thought overall that the page came out well. I wish the Brutfuner 180 I had done with darker colors to compete with row 1 and 2. But if I had to give someone the win, I think I would give my mom's Color 120s the win, just by the way I colored them. I don't have any notes of any differences in how they feel between the ones that I used. And I filmed those late at night at my mom's and shared them with everybody on the Daily Color. This is my husband's favorite page choice. He, I am sure, chose it because of the bright colors and the glass. So I thought that my use of the acrylic markers to do the glass went very well. And these are Black Widows. I now at this point own the full set of Black Widows, and I really loved the process, and I took 4 episodes to complete the project, and this was at the end of August. And I have no notes for that one. Next, I did the Color 180 Black Barrel, and my favorite part of this page was making the fish change color and look kind of holographic. That was my goal, and I think that these pencils worked very well for that. And what I don't like about this page is the rooftops are a copper metallic craft marker from the Dollar Tree, and I can see the black lines, and I didn't want it to be streaky, so I just stopped and would have rather chosen a different rooftop medium. And I colored the bubbles first with like an iridescent. Here you can see I colored them somewhat like the fish, and here they are. And then I decided to put stickles over the top. So the stickles are a very neutral iridescent white. So any colors, underlying colors, are the Color pencils. That took 2 episodes. It was pretty fast for me. At this point, I'm feeling much more comfortable. I am definitely able to relax. I have explored coloring in different locations in my house, and for relaxing, the recliner, I think, is my favorite. And the recliner, we've moved to different rooms of the house, and I also do find now that I am a more relaxed colorist that I can sit at my desk now, where at first I did not like coloring at my desk, where I card make and play computer games. But now that I am more confident and relaxed as a rule, I can sit at my chair and not hurt my back. I do have a spinal injury and I am fused, so part of sitting in the recliner was to help my back relax. And now that I just by nature find coloring more relaxing and fun. I can do it sitting up now, and I'm fine with it. We've got mallard ducks, a female and a male. You can see some where I did attempt to make some feather shapes because her body was smooth. And then the boy, I just left him smooth, used some bright colors. I did use reference photos from, Google on my phone. So that was a fun exercise. And then I thought that the water on them was not enough water, so I went ahead and added my own water. Not sure it was 100% successful, but it was still a fun little thing to do. And I do think some bling and white gel pen would be nice, so maybe one day I will get back to that. Even a sky might be nice on those. By the way, the pencils, didn't even talk about the pencils. These are my dreaded Crayolas that I do not like, and I thought they did great. And then for the light colors, I did use the Castle Arts pastel tints. You will see that I do tend to take the pastels, and if I don't have a smaller image, I will just put them on with a big image with another set of pencils. Love this page. I thought that the colors came out awesome. It's 4 sets of pencils. Here they are. If I sneak over, I used Holbein plus Brutfuner macarons, Evazar, Castle Arch Soft Touch, and Prang again, pitted against the Holbein. Now, yes, I think the Prang is a little bit softer than the top 3, but I still think they hold their own. And in the end, the order that I gave them is in the order that they're colored in. The number 1 for me for the day was the Holbein, and I still today, by look, I do give the edge to the Holbeins. I think at this point, this is in end of August, I only own 50 at this point, Holbeins. Evazar did great, number 2, Castle Arts number 3, and then a distant 4th for the Prangs. And that took 4 episodes. Now I finally had an opportunity, not sure if I was going alphabetical. At some point after 3 rounds of just going alphabetical, I created a spreadsheet in Excel that does a random rotation, and I can refresh it anytime, and I have done that since round 4. Castle Arts Harmonious, very soft, easy to color with. Limited color palette, so probably as a rule, if you're a new colorist, this would be a second set for you, and you would pair it with, Castle Arts Soft Touch would be perfect to have with these. But they will pair nicely with their unique color palette with any regular set of pencils, in my opinion. You could even pair them with a 72. And this took me 3 episodes to finish. We're now into September, and we're at 52 minutes. I'm going to be hard-pressed to finish in 8. So this was a big challenging page. I focused on a nice ethereal blue background with some deep blue toward the objects in the tendrils. And then I did some shading. I used 4 sets of pencils. So this is a 4-up quadrant that I turned it into using pencil and a ruler to separate them. I started with the Color, I believe, the 180, and then did Prismacolor, Polychromos, and Luminance. So I have basically 3 professional pencils compared to the Color, which is a cheap budget pencil, and I think that the budget pencil held its own and did a great job. Of the 4, my favorite by look, just staring down at them, is probably, looking for some color variation, it's probably the Polychromos with Luminance, very close. This flower, by the way, is half Polychromos and half Luminance. Same with this flower, is half Color and half Prisma. That's all for that one. And that took many episodes. Look at that. 3 and 3. So 6 episodes. Still not quite the 7 that took to do the title page. So now I've got another round where I needed to use the Derwent drawing. So I chose, at this point, I might have moved things around so that I could get 3 similar sets. Derwent Drawing was the set of 24, and then I used the Castle Arts metallics, and I think they look very close. There's a little bit of a mica sheen that I can see on the metallics that you might not be able to see. I really like that, and I found the metallics were very pleasant to work with. And then I just tossed on the Amazon Basics, and I think that they look good too. And I never went back and finished the aqua treatment. I still owe you guys that. And I also have some white little fluff balls and white accent balls, and I will one day get back to it. This book is still going to be used. I will pull it out to do some extra blinging and backgrounds if I want to experiment with, say, some new blingy pens or other mediums, and if I want to use new background mediums, I will break out this book. So I'm not concerned that I haven't finished everything on every page, but all of the pencil coloring has been done. Next, we have a heart. It was very simple. It was one episode. I used the Artisto 72, and everything went well. And then I even have a little note that says add glitter dots, and I have not done it yet. Moving on to a 4-flower circle page. I think on this page we have Starjoy Gold, Castle Arts Gold, Erogeton, and Lightfast. I have little notes. I have pluses and minuses is all I did. And the winner gets a plus and a star, and that's the Starjoy Gold. Erogeton and Castle Arts Gold don't get anything, and then Lightfast is a minus. So I didn't keep any specific notes, but when I look straight down, I believe they all look very similar. I actually, by look, and it's just by my shading technique I used, of the shading done, I like the Castle Arts Gold the best. Just by shading alone. I guess it's the colorizing of the highlights and the shadows in the flowers themselves. And that took 3 episodes, and we're now into the end of September. We have a 12 up, and I must have decided, no, 16, and I must have decided I was not ready to do 16 sets of pencils, so instead I did 4. And I did a patriotic theme, not sure why, with a pop of extra color. So the pear is a pop of color, the pumpkin is a pop of color, and same with the gray teapot. And I didn't really use any pop of color on the 3rd row. So the sets of pencils are Brookfuner Square on the top, followed by Evazar, Pablo's, Amazon Basics, 4 episodes, so 1 episode per row. And the winner was the Pablo's. These have consistently been the winner. They even have the coveted spot of being my favorite colored page in the whole book. Moving on to dogs, we've got the Dachshunds. I used soft colors again. It was Derwent Drawing, pastel tints, and metallics. And all 3 look great. They look their part. And I don't know if I have I did not pick a winner on this particular page. I do say, I have a little code. I wrote Castle Arts pastel tints plus M number 22. I must have decided I needed a macaron. That must be Brookfuner macaron number 22 I needed, and I don't even know what color that is, but whatever it is, the Dachshunds all look cute. I do like the blue to peach little blue flowers here on the top Dachshund. They are especially cute. Neons. Now I'm looking for extra fun things to do as we get farther into the book, and I realize I owned 3 sets of pencils that came with neons. I even own neons in the prang that I could have used, but I only had 3 rows of boats, and I didn't have 6 sets of pencils that had neons, so I used Prismacolor, Brookfuner 520 flower boxes, and Erogeton. And for the top boat, the Prismacolor orange is especially bright and vibrant, and I found the 520 orange and the Erogeton orange were very weak and underpowered. So I'm going to give the win on this page to the Prismacolor. And it took me 4 episodes to finish those boats. So now we have the Color 180 Black Barrel. I have a bottle, and I decided I wanted to finish it in one sitting. My mock-up of the bottle I spent a little more time on, and it was more vivid. But knowing that I was going to time box myself to one episode that was about 45 minutes, this is what I came up with. And as I just did one layer and did not go back and go into more depth. And then I did white gel pen. I don't think I did the gel pen with you. I'm not sure if I did the gel pen with you. I would have to go back and look at the episode, but I like the gel pen. I love the metallic or the glass reflective look, especially with the top. Which actually, that middle line, the squiggle, that's gold gel pen. One episode. I did not restrict myself to one episode on this one. Since I had just done it, I was okay with 2 episodes. Brutfuner squares with lime glitter tan mitt gel pen, gold gel pen, and I'm very happy with how this came out. And I wrote 0 notes on my mock-up, but I did do a pretty complete mock-up for it. For coloring group, I decided I wanted to show them what it looks like, how the subtle difference is of shadow lines versus no shadow lines. So the right side of these images has no gray. They're just the colors. Still going dark to light. If I then switch to the other side, look at how much more depth there is because I used a dark gray. And I did that and shared with them, gave them, a white piece of paper so that they could look for themselves at the difference. The effect is the subtle but yet effectiveness of using a gray. So here's down here, we have no dark gray, and then on this side we have a dark gray. Here's this one with the dark gray, no dark gray. We are probably well over an hour. So of the 4, I did not rate which set. Brutfuner Macaron, Castle Arts Soft Touch, Crayola 100, and Luminance. And at this point, the Crayola 100 is working well for me. I've used it enough times by now that it is fully integrated into my system, though I definitely would not choose them. They are so dry and scratchy and unpleasant feeling to me that I would not choose them for a pleasant coloring page just because. I only use them because they are adequate in this particular book. Okay, we've got birds. The birds are Starjoy Gold and Luminance, and they are equally as vibrant, and I think they came out great. You can't even really tell that one is a very, very cheap budget pencil, and the other is a very, very expensive professional pencil. Moving on to our feathers. This feather exercise was me coming up with some interesting criteria to judge these pencils by, but not by anything I had judged them on before. And I create a big fancy spreadsheet. Each feather is a pencil set. I have all of them have their colors. 2 of them don't match. The harmonious and the neons don't match. These were part of my rotation on my rotation sheet, so they were all together, though I'm not sure if I actually, this may or not have been the order, but I also chose the feathers that I colored kind of carefully. Like I used a very small feather for the harmonious and the neon. I only owned a subset of the Holbeins. At this point, I may have owned the 90. We are now in November. I believe by now I owned the 90. And my criteria I used was how did they do on copy paper? Just kind of an oddball thing because I have noticed when I do my mock-ups, some of the pencils do great on copy paper and other pencils suck. How do they smell? Do they blend well? Are the barrels legible? Are they organized and easy to use? Do the barrel colors match? And then I just wrote a note of which size the set was. And the winner of these weird measurement criterias was 5 points. Spearer Farben. So Spearer Farben is this feather right here. And, it wasn't judged by how they look when they were finished being colored. It was just adding and subtracting my pluses and minuses. Each was a point. And you don't get a point if it had no plus or minus. The smelliest pencil was the Castle Arts Gold. They were candleish smelling and they made me sneeze twice. They also were waxy and left crumbs. That took 5 episodes to finish. Now we're heading kind of somewhat recent. We're into the December time frame. For my birthday Christmas, I bought some markers. These are some black Pitt pens and a couple of other types of markers. And I used 3 different sets of pencils, Prang, let's see if you can see it, Prang, Brooke Funer flower boxes, and the Color 120 black barrels. They all did a really great job, but I would definitely give the most vibrant win the Brooke Funer flower boxes, and I don't have any notes at all, besides the fact of by look I would pick that one. 4 more nice scenes. Luminance, Castle Arts Soft Touch, Starjoy Gold, and Polychromos. This took 4 episodes to do, and the winner is the Luminance, and I will tell you there is probably a percent, I can't remember what it would be, Presepia, 50%, 30%, and it has something scratchy in it, and it looked terrible, so I couldn't use it. I've owned them a long time, and I probably never used that pencil, or maybe I hit the graininess after sharpening it once. So it just goes to show you that even the most expensive of pencils can have problems. I did white, Winsor & Newton ink, and this little corner, this purple, had a problem, and so I've worked on it, and I will work on it again at some point. I've got some ideas of how I could maybe get some tooth back. That's when you go too heavy with the ink, it's a glossy finish, and then the pencils won't adhere. We're now up to the 349. So we're in January, so this year, and I used Castle Arts Harmonious. I did horizontal, so each 2 images is a set of pencils, Brooke Funer Metallics, Castle Arts Pastel Tints, and Prismacolor. So the Prismacolor, I had the full 150, but the challenge there was choosing muted tones to match the top 3 rows, and then also make it be soft. And they're very crayon-like, so it was a bit of a challenge. And so I said, okay, but crayonish. I did pick a winner. The Harmonious was number 1. Oh, the challenge was no pre-coloring. So my sample sheet here is for the most part white. And the Brooke Funer are new metallics. They are mica and silky. So this is the 72 set. I liked the 50 set of Castle Arts so well, I went ahead and bought a 72 set of Brooke Funers, and they, again, are fantastic. Now I've said fantastic too many times. I need a new word. All right, pastel tints, number 3, creamy but not exciting. That's the only problem with this particular set. And then the Prismacolor got number 4. They were okay but crayonish, so the experience wasn't the greatest. I have a quadrant mandala-esque image, and these flowers are down the center, half Prisma, half Amazon Basics, half Brooke Funer squares, half Castle Arts Gold. And I did pick winners on here. I wrote single words. No. Yes, I did write single words. The Prisma's number 2, they were bright. Amazon Basics, hard to blend, so they were number 4. Brooke Funer squares, so easy, were my description, and that was my winner. And Castle Arts Gold, I wrote crumbs. They left crumbs, and they do that when I'm not careful with my pressure. This page is 4 sets of pencils. Yep. Let's see if we can get you over to see it. Color 180 Color Barrel, Erogeton, Black Widow, and Artex. At this point, I definitely own the full Black Widows, the full set. And I did rate them. I didn't write any interesting notes. I wrote some color notes, but they're not related to how I rated them. Color 180 Color Barrel were number 2. Erogeton number 4. Black Widow number 3. Artex are the winner. But when I look at them now today, they are so similar. So I'm not really sure at the time with my criteria why I picked one over the other, because they look all so bright and vivid to me. Let's see, we're into the end of January, and at this point I watched a video on the Langguo. I think Coloring Bliss did one, and Coloring by Maya. She did the first one that I watched, and then I sought out some more. And I watched 3 or 4 videos, and I bought a few sets, I think maybe 8, and loved them. Here is me experimenting with them with you. This was me. The tulips are done with blending, and the stems I layered. So go watch that if you're interested in seeing how the Langguos work, not for outlining, but for actually coloring with. The black background is done with the Pitt pen, and then Derwent drawing with line work, Inktense on the top, Lightfast on the bottom. All 3 sets of pencils used here are the Derwent line, all 3 sets that I own. I did use wet for activating the Inktense on the top half of both of these rectangles, and the bottom both were done with Lightfast and line work around the edges, and it took forever. It's like these are 8x10s. It was so time consuming, but it was really fun. Not relaxing, but very fun. A great new medium experience for me, and I can't wait. Now I do own all of the Langguos, and I'm very organized. They're in their own pencil set, all 162 colors, and I've used them a lot because I use them in card making and in writing as well. I can't believe I've gone so long, all these years, without a regular set of really nice gel pens. I've only have the Tanmit 80 set, and then Castle Arts are a mix. And in the Castle Arts are only 4 basic colors. The rest are all, metallics and sparkles and swirls. Then they don't work very well. Okay, now we're on a multi-set. It's of fruit, and I don't have the description here of which pencils are which. Let's go through them really quick. Castle Arts Metallics. They're a mica, Crayola, Barrel. I wrote that those were soft. I wrote for the Crayola here, scratchy. Imagine that. Marie's soft plus blend. They got a plus next to them. Evazar, very, very soft. This is Albrecht Dürer, the first time we've seen a wet medium, and they were dry and silky, and I used water to activate them. I wrote for Speer Farben, pigmented and soft. Pablo's, powdery. They do have kind of a powdery feel to them. Very unique. Brutfuner Macaron. I didn't write anything there. Lemons, Color 180 Black Barrel, not as pigmented and waxy. Arteza. I wrote tweener. I don't know what tweener means. It meant something at the time. And then I wrote Brutfuner Neon, and I did not do a description for those. Holbein, somewhat sticky, which is weird because I'd had really good experiences, but they were sticky that day. Maybe it was the climate here. Artisto, I wrote soft, and Polychromos, silky. I don't have a winner. I have no number 1. Okay, but the only one that I wrote a plus, which would be for my experience, nothing else has a plus. So, and I don't even think these look very exciting, but sometimes when I do a rating, it's based on the experience, and I did write soft plus blend plus. So there you have it on that one. We're now in February, getting close to the end, and we've got the Valentine's Sunday on February 9th and 11th. I worked on them. It took February 9th to February 11th, and it took 2 episodes. And I only had, this is the same red, all this down here, lighter, darker, darker. So all 5 rows of ribbony layers of red are the same, but I tried to color them a little bit different. And then I did glaze over the top of all of this with this blue, kind of aqua color. So anywhere where there's tooth showing, the aqua stuck to it. So I can see it. I'm not sure if you can see the tint of blue. And I really enjoyed these pencils. The Speer Farben, I've gotten to know them quite well, so I don't find them as streaky as they were when I first started using them, because I know them. I know at this point, I know all of my pencils really well. I have another full page. I just felt so blessed that around Valentine's Day, I was able to color 2 Valentine projects. Unplanned. They just happened to work out. So we did a turtle. I used the Prismacolor. Here are my I only used 2 blends or combos. Here's my light to dark red, and there's my light to dark green. And those are all the only 2. I used all of these colors. My color combos came from my Colorful Country Life. She does videos, and I think she's even going to get into a database with help from her brother or brother-in-law. So I can't wait to see what that is going to be like. That'll be very exciting. All right, 2 episodes to do the Valentine turtle. Now we have 6 sets of pencils. I've got some, not a lot of notes, but I have pluses on my scratch paper. We've got Amazon Basics, Castle Arts Soft Touch, Color 180 Black Barrel, Castle Arts Pastel Tints, Erogetin, Brutfuner Squares, 3 episodes to finish. And I gave the Castle Arts products, both of them were the only ones that got pluses for whatever reason. I didn't even pick the Brutfuner Squares. I colored with you guys half of these circles to keep the project pretty quick. And then I also went through and did the gel pens, the Languo. I had bought the highlights, so I did white and silver. And here's where silver is, just little dots. And then I did 1 green and silver in this. And I didn't feel it appropriate to color this black because all these little dots and crosses would have been lost. Even the little stems would have been lost in the details. So that was a fun exercise, and Castle Arts gets the win on that page. We've got some full-size wreaths. It was at this point I'd done a lot of small images, and I was ready for some just big, easy, fast images. I had just finished the 2 large Valentine images, and boom, here I have more to do. I started out with a water medium Albrecht Dürer, 1 episode. I came in and did some dry work at the end to deepen my shadows, so you guys can see that. We'll talk about a winner, because I will pick a winner amongst the 4. Here is wreath number 2, Castle Arts Gold, 1 episode. I wrote very fast, blended well, and were buttery. I watched my pressure, so I got no crumbs. So that was nice. Now each one has a different color family, or color palette, and this is done with Artex, 1 episode, slow to fill the tooth, more silky than buttery. Greens have some gaps, very clean, not messy, no crumbs, even with heavy pressure. Those are my notes for that. Pablo's did the Christmas wreath, and I just wrote very simple, silky to powdery. For a winner, that's a tough one, isn't it? I loved the speed of the Albrecht Dürer and the ability to come back in and get the depth, but the color palette isn't like very exciting to me. So I can't believe I'm going to say it, but these peach flowers may not look very exciting on the camera, but in real life they are very sweet and endearing. And I think that of the 4 wreaths, this is my favorite, just by how the look and some of the color choices I made. So we're going to call Castle Arts Gold the winner on the 4 wreath challenge. All right, we've got some birds. I have cardinals that visit my bird feeder that is right out my window, and I get to stare at animals all day long. A female and a male. I used a photo reference. I used luminance. It was great to color with the luminance on the bottom and the Starjoy Gold on the top, and I wrote some detailed notes as follows. Easy laydown. This is for the Starjoy Gold. They get number 2. They don't get the winner. Easy laydown, pigmented, holds a point, easy to read, versus the luminance, that's the lettering on the barrel. Not as layerable, not as vivid, and not light fast for professional art. On the bottom, I wrote layering for days, no crumbs. Oh no, I changed from no and I crossed it out and wrote minimal crumbs. Vivid color and light fast, especially, hard to read, the barrels. Noisy, especially on copy paper. Only 100 colors. Silky and dry. green combo is okay, but not quite perfect. Thus the reason why I would like a few more pencils to choose from. And Luminance got the pick for the winner on the comparison between those two. I believe I've now colored 2 images that ended up being Starjoy Gold and Luminance, and I don't really know how that happens. All right, we're so close. Pastel, pinks. I've never done a pink page like this, a soft pink. So I used 5 pencils. It was the 5 pencil challenge. Brutfuner Macaron, Black Widow, got a plus for Black Widow. Castle Arts Metallic, and Krita Color Metallic. Artisto, Brutfuner Neon, Evazar, I wrote So Soft and it got 2 pluses. Kalur 120 Black Barrel, Harmonious, Barrel Prismacolor, Arteza 72 Holbein. I have the 90 at this point. Brutfuner Metallic, Prang, Kalur 180 Black Barrel got 2 pluses. Polychromos, Derwent Drawing, Lightfast, Derwent Lightfast, 3 pluses. I was very, very impressed with how these came out with just the way the colors went down. Crayola got a minus. Brutfuner, Flowerbox 520, Brutfuners, and the Maries. So our winner on this, and even just looking, I would absolutely pick this image as the winner. The 20 set challenge. All right. I did receive the Woomer pencils from the manufacturer. Here they are with the first project that I did with them. I had a hard time getting the tooth to fill in, so I actually recruited a blender pencil. I believe it was the Caran d'Ache Full Bright. And to make it fair, I also used the full Blender Bright on the Maries, which was next in the list of the rotation, and I also thought they would be a good comparable set. They even look physically the same by just the pencil themselves, and I show you that. And I would still, comparing this green shrub to the green trees, I give the Woomer a slight edge on brightness. And then down here at the bottom we have Inktense. Probably my first time using Inktense, or second time using Inktense. I'd already done the Albert Dürer on the wreath, and I kept this fairly light. I could go back and do another layer and reactivate so I could get it more vivid, so it would look more similar to the Woomer and the Maries. And it took me 3 episodes to color the 3 houses. I was not done yet at this point with the Woomer challenge, since they were a new set and I was going to do a review, so I used them again. This time I did a very extensive color family order walk from yellow to orange, red, pink, purple, with orange and blue. Here's all of the work that I did on my mock-up. Look at all these colors to come up with my blend on all 3 sets that I used. The other 2 sets were Spearer Farben and Castle Arts Gold, and I think between the 3 of them I picked Woomer, but I did write the word slow. I gave 2 pluses to the Woomer, but they were slow, and I think that slowness is me, and I am not a soft buttery colorist as a rule, and these need more pressure to get that pigment to fill the tooth in. But compared to the first house image, I think that I had a much easier time, but it was slower for me to be able to achieve that vibrant color without recruiting a blender pencil. We now have the 16 pencil set challenge, and I used unique colors for each image. I think I limited it to 5. And I have little notes. We have detailed the names, so I'm not going to go through the names. Thank goodness I have them. You can see them on the screen. The winners for me, there were 2 of them, and even visually right now, I agree with my choices. Brutfuner Squares and Evazar. I even went back. I liked them so much. They were vivid that I went back and I colored with you guys, doing some reflection with gel pen, and I have not done more gel pen, so there's more work to be done on this particular page. Just so you know, I guess it It was not a 5-pencil challenge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope. Well, no 5-pencil challenge, because here's my cheat sheet, and clearly I used just whatever pencils were required to achieve the colors I wanted. Hub's pick, I asked him for his opinion. He chose this image because he loved the simplicity of it. We've got dragons. I got your help on deciding whether the flower on the top dragon was going to be a boy dragon or girl dragon, and because you all picked girl dragon, I gave her some blush, little pink nostril, and a cute pink flower. Pablo's, I had a problem with the tooth not filling in on the Pablo's, so I did recruit a blender pencil for that, and I have not gone down here. I think this dragon would also do well with a little bit of blender pencil on the gray. So a little more work to do on the dragon still. I thought that these cute shapes, triangles and diamonds, would look good black, and I chose to partner Tanmit gel pens with Languo for all the stem work and dots and sprigs and pluses, and I think it came out very nice. I have not actually used the Tanmits in this book. There was nothing simple enough until this page that kind of made me think, oh, I want to use the Tanmit gel pens. So I have even my little scratch mark. I went ahead and colored the black without you guys because it's just black. And then here's me coming up with my color schemes and my numbers that I chose for each of these shapes. We've now got, we're at an hour and a half. How did I know this was not going to be done in an hour? Okay, 6 circle flowers, 3 pencil sets, Arteza, Woomer, Artisto. I put the Woomer in the middle so I could have a nice comparison to the 2 sets. These are all 72 sets. Budget-wise, I do think they're about the same, with the Artisto being a little less expensive. They're a budget set. And I wrote some notes. I wrote, okay, it took longer to fill the tooth on the Arteza on the top. They had a good dark olive. Remember, they had the Arteza set lacks the light colors, but it's going to be limited, and they had to pick and choose, which is why I would really like the 120 set, but it is a little bit too pricey for me. Colors not as blendable, and the tones, because of being a limited set that they pulled from the big set, the tones are a little bit off when you try to do your color combos. I think my power is low, so let me fix it. Plugging it in. Okay, we are back. We are still filming. Almost done. Woomer, soft, fast, nice blends, vivid, 2 pluses. The Artistos, soft, fast, reds were not as bright, and no dark olive and no indigo. Again, a limit of the set. I think the Woomer set for 72 is very well planned out. And I don't visually pick a winner. I think all 3 are equally as nice. They're all nice. Love them. Okay, next, we're almost to the end here. We're down to our last 3 pages, and I decided that it would be a good thing to pair the Barrel Prismacolor with the Prismacolor Premier, and I own a subset of the Barrel Prismacolors. I did learn that the colors match, but the color names on the starred pencils, the names are different, and the only color difference is 917. The 2021 Prismacolor color is brighter than the 1986 Barrel color. I loved using them both. I think that they were completely vibrant and very satisfied with how they both worked, though I think the Barrels are a tad softer. Oh, I even maybe wrote notes. Here's some notes. Compared the swatches for a match, and I did that. Buttery soft, took a 1.5 layers to fill the tooth on the Barrel side, and the Barrels feel more like Woomers than they feel like the newer Prismacolor Premiers. I did a narwhal. Here's my narwhal. I did a wet, medium, full page, Albrecht Dürer. It took 2 episodes to finish, and I still think I could do more work, go in and do some deeper darks if I wanted to, but it was super fast and very enjoyable. Here's the end. I used Artex. I believe it was by rotation that our text was next, and I kept it to a nice palette of the periwinkle to purple and yellow flowers with yellow stars. It was on 4/13, and that same day I went ahead, I wrote the wrong date. That's supposed to be 4/13. Same pencils that I had out as for the end, and then I had 2 pinks out that I ended up not using, so I put that up on the mushroom, and I'm going to call this book done. Thank you all so much for being part of this journey. I'm going to be continuing on now, opening up to first off, coloring books that I have 2 copies of the book is my focus, and I have 6 of them now. And then I'm working toward the confidence to be able to take a book that I only own 1 copy of, knowing I can, in most 99% of the time, I can get a second copy of the book. So that will be my challenge this year, is building my confidence in just taking a book that has an image I want to color. Maybe it's by season or by holiday, who knows. I will be working on that this year. I will continue the daily color. I am down to about 4 days a week. While I was finishing this book, trying to keep it timely, I was coloring 5 to 7 days a week in some cases. But now I have my mom living here, so life is a little bit busier for me. So I will be coloring 4 days a week. I do recommend you hit the bell if you're interested in joining in, because I don't drop them on certain days. It's just when I get projects, when I get time and Hub's taking his nap and the sun, moon, and stars align, I will sit down and do a daily color. And I still like to do reviews, hauls, completed pages, share with you projects that I'm working on for coloring groups, sometimes card making, so I will keep that content coming. And thank you all for joining me today, and welcome back if you are returning. Do all those YouTube things, like, share, comment, consider subscribing, and I will see you on the next one. Before I go, let's look at my tally. They're just in secret codes. Here's my tally of the pages where I pitted pencils against the other, focusing on the bigger comparisons, not just 3 or 4 sets of pencils. Spear Farben, Lightfast, and Pablo's got 3 wins. Behind them, Finner Squares, Derwent Drawing, both got 2, but Derwent Drawing was against smaller set competition. So, for like neutral, brownish, natural sets, the 24 pencils you get in Derwent Drawing are quite nice. I have Experience, the Albrecht Dürer, Starjoy Gold, and Marie's. Each got, based on my experience with them and how they worked, or how they were easy to read, whatever, they each got a win. Starjoy Gold and Marie's also got a win just on my notes on a page competing against other sets. And then Evazar and Castle Art Soft Touch each got a win. So there you go. Those are my winners. Not that they are necessarily my favorite pencils. That's the other thing I will eventually get to, is a tiered ranking of my pencil sets. I am now up to 36 sets of pencils, with only finishing the Holbeins as a maybe, but not a requirement. And Arteza, I find they just are limited at 72, and I would love the full 120. So other than that, I'm very happy with my collection and how they all work. They all have their pluses and minuses, and I'm happy with them all. So take care, and I will see you on the next one.